Yo, hello everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Joey J. Ping here, checking in live. RespectMyRegion.com. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, everybody. What's good, everybody? Joey J. Ping here, checking in live. RespectMyRegion.com. Not sure what just happened there. I was pushing buttons on my laptop. Ian, hello. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Joey. How are you?
I have done this podcast so many different times, right? And I've never had any issues like that where I'm just like talking and I'm not there. But I'm doing well, thank you, everybody. We are back with the second official episode of the Cannabis Business Podcast, presented by the RMR Podcast Network and Ian Rassman. I'm your host, Joey J. Ping. My co-host, Ian Rassman. None other than. How are you today, bro?
Fantastic. Always good.
Solid, solid. It's a Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. We decided to gather, just in spirit, like we did for a number of years. Are tacos on the agenda today?
No, not for me. I got too much going on.
Too much
To,
going on. I know you're headed to some really exciting places over the next couple weeks, which is really the premise of today's episode.
yeah, let's talk about some international cannabis, right?
International traveler Ian Rassman. Ian, are you ready, dude? Man, you got Spannabis coming up. You got ICBC. Can you go ahead and break down the acronym for everybody?
Yeah. I'm leaving a week from today, actually, for ICBC. It is the International Cannabis Business Conference. Really, truly one of the preeminent cannabis conferences that's been running in Europe for many years now. International Cannabis Business Conference. Really, this upcoming show in Barcelona next week is going to be followed up with Spannabis over the weekend. As you recall, you and I rolled out for this about 2 years ago, right? ICBC and Spannabis. And I was there last year again. It's a great conference. I really love ICBC. It pulls really anybody who's anybody of the cannabis industry from Europe. Hits this. There we go, ICBC.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up just while we have it. I mean, I wanted to bring up their website and kind of just browse through it real quick. You're
Yeah,
you're going to the Berlin show, right?
I'm hitting every one of those shows at the bottom right there.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Barcelona,
so
Berlin,
Barcelona
Slovenia.
is next week.
Yep,
Berlin is next month
yep.
for a
And
week.
that's the Global Investing Forum. That's 3 days in a row. That's going to be very, very big. So
Okay.
the Berlin conference for ICBC, I would say, is substantially bigger than the Barcelona conference. Both are not really to be missed at all. But the Berlin one really has an energy to it because, as you know, they're legalizing cannabis in Germany. So let's go on that. There's been
Absolutely.
recent announcements over the last few weeks in Germany where they are pushing forward with legalization. We are expecting something in April by the time the conference starts that cannabis will be legal, although there won't actually be any place to go buy it yet. And then I think coming along in approximately July is when people on the street will be able to go buy some cannabis.
Very exciting, man. Isn't it crazy to think that like what we have going on in the world of cannabis now, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity, right? There's international business from the ancillary perspective and the payments, right? What do they always say? Selling shovels and picks
To the
to
miners, to the gold
yeah, to
miners.
the miners, right? And so it's like you could be ancillary, but then also too, you got to think about there's cultivators, right? There's extractors, rosin and edibles, super popular over there. I would imagine that in Europe, discretion of product, like discrete product use, is probably going to be really important over over the course of the coming years and months, right?
Yeah, you mean different product types?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're gonna start expanding, into all kinds of different products like what we have here in California. Obviously, we have great selection of everything, just about that there is in California. I think it'll probably start a little bit slower in Europe. More traditional flower, some concentrates and things like that. And I think it remains to be seen exactly what products are going to be legal as well. Not all markets legalize all different products of cannabis. You and I talked. I just got back from Hawaii last month and was really surprised actually at the limited number of products that are allowed in Hawaii. So we'll see what products are going to be allowed in Germany and other
Yeah,
European
let's talk
countries.
about that. I just actually pulled up an article. I'm going to share it again here as well. We're going to read through that. How about we
Yeah.
share the screen again and read through some content for some international cannabis updates for some people. According to BBC.com, Germany legalizes cannabis but makes it harder to buy, right? Or hard to buy. The German parliament has backed a new law to allow the recreational use of cannabis. Under the law, over 18-year-olds in Germany will be allowed to possess substantial amounts of cannabis, but strict rules will make it difficult to buy the drug. Shout out to the BBC for still calling it a drug. Smoking cannabis in many public spaces will become legal from April 1st. Possession
That bodes well for the conference. Just
right,
saying, which is going to
right.
be in April.
Possession of up to 25 grams, equivalent to dozens of strong joints, is to be allowed in public spaces. In private homes, the legal limit will be 50 grams. Wow, so different possession laws in the house versus out of the house. Police in some parts of Germany, such as Berlin, often turn a blind eye to smoking in public, although possession of the drug for rec use is illegal and can be prosecuted. Use of the drug among young people has been soaring for years, despite the existing laws, says Health Minister Karl Lauterbach. He wants to undermine the black market, protect smokers from contaminated cannabis, and cut revenue streams for organized crime gangs. But legal cannabis cafes will not suddenly spring up all over the country. A ferocious debate about decriminalizing cannabis has been raging for years in Germany, with doctors' groups expressing concerns for young people and conservatives saying that liberalization will fuel drug use. After a
We can
stormy
see.
session on After a stormy session, this is back in February, in the Bundestag, Germany's parliament, the vote was eventually passed by 407 votes to 226. Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
So it's very clear that Germany is going to be doing its thing, and especially with those unique laws set up. Although you know it's going to take time for it to truly take shape and form in the regular world, right? That's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, I
You
think
went
so.
to ICBC before. What was that experience like?
Yeah,
Berlin first.
Berlin's fantastic. First off, I love Berlin as a city. I mean, very progressive in many things, and just there's a spirit of life in Berlin. Everybody's happy, people are out. I just really enjoy Berlin. So yeah, ICBC. I've been there the last couple of years for ICBC in Berlin. Have absolutely loved it. This is really the big ICBC show of the year, I would say. Hundreds of vendors, people from really all over the world coming to ICBC Berlin. I would say the Barcelona one pulls more European, whatnot. Definitely some other outside of Europe internationals, obviously Americans and North Americans going. But Berlin is really a huge show, and really not to be missed if you're anywhere on the international scene. This is where you're going to meet people from all over the world, is in Berlin at ICBC.
And Barcelona is before that. That's this next week on the 14th. You're skipping Hall of Flowers in California. You're going to Spannabis. You're going to ICBC. I was there with you 2 years ago. It was a smaller convention for sure in size, but there was definitely more about the panels and speaking, right? It was definitely about the learning. Barcelona was real big on the education value. Um,
Absolutely.
can you talk to us about what to expect from the Barcelona ICBC?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more great education. I've seen the panel of speakers coming up, some from last year, some new ones, and I'm very excited to hear from a number of people, their take on, the growth in Europe at the moment. So it's definitely going to be a lot of education. We're going to see some sponsors there, demonstrating their services, products, and whatnot. And then it's going to be, it's really just a one-day conference, and after party, which the ICBC after parties are absolutely legendary. Had some great performances, and last couple ones have been DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill, and who else have we had there?
That's exciting, though. I mean, even still to have
She,
Cypress Hill out there in
yeah,
Germany, or I'm sorry, in Spain, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Jim
what are
Belushi
your?
as well. He's always fun.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Talk me through some of the people that you anticipate seeing out there. I know that there's a lot of California brands that go out there, but you're also pretty tapped into the international community and the national, like the North American cannabis community as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about who do you anticipate seeing out there?
Gosh, uh, there is a crew of people that I see at a lot of the international conventions that keep floating through all those. It's hard to think of everybody right off the top. Big shout out to Alex from ICBC, of course, for keeping this
Skunk Mag, I know
all
she's going to
together.
be out there.
Yeah, Julie's always there. Look forward to seeing her. Dimitri from Amita, Destiny.
I
They're
know
always out.
Honeysuckle is going to be out there too.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Jamie Pearson. Always look forward to seeing her. She's always got dope things to say up there on stage. Bo Whitney. From Whitney Economics. He's always, I love listening to him talk numbers because he just shows up with just fascinating statistics. So he's great. Be rolling with my buddy Sean Friedel from Pineapple Express.
Mm-hmm.
We're always hitting these international shows together. Gosh, there's just so many people I'm really, really looking forward to seeing out there. Great group of friends is what it is.
Yeah, it was really cool experience to be out there when we went out there 2 years ago. Staying down there. What was that area?
The Gothic district is where
Yeah,
we
the
stay.
Gothic district was super cool, and just the history, the culture, all the food and snacks and tapas, and that dried out jamon stuff, and you
And
know,
Sagrada de Familia, who can forget that experience?
yeah, and then going to that church and damn near getting us all arrested. Shout out, that entire thing. These are life changing moments. These are life creating moments. They say, live your life and all that. And Spannabis, ICBC, the European cannabis culture. It's a real thing. People been out there breaking the law, breaking the rules, consuming it, rec, medically, whatever they need it. It ain't so different from where we're from or where we come from.
You
It's
know,
just
Spain, let's just point out real briefly that Spain cannabis is not legal. Okay, so Barcelona, obviously in Spain, and Barcelona feels a little bit like California did 25 years ago, where California was going out against the larger state and saying, "Hey, we believe in medical cannabis over here in California," and we had the U.S. government basically flipping us the bird and saying, yeah, whatever. And then, that feels basically like what's going on in Spain right now. You have Barcelona and the Catalonian district there, where they believe in medical cannabis. The local government has authorized cannabis clubs, has licensed them, has collected taxes from them, but it's not actually legal in the eyes of the state of Spain. So, this means that consumers need to be exceptionally careful in
yeah.
Spain because the police they are not local police. They are national police. So if you run into the police in Barcelona, they really don't care that Barcelona has legalized it because they work for Spain. So you can be in big trouble with the police over there and cannabis. And,
Yeah.
so you got to be careful where you're consuming.
Yeah,
And
inside lounges only, and always look around you before you go in the lounge, right?
always look around before you go in the lounge. And if yeah, as you recall, when you find a cannabis lounge, you got the address and you go up to it, and it's a very nondescript door where you're like, is this it? You're not even sure where you're going into. And sure enough, there'll be like a little camera and a button, and they'll have you on camera, and you buzz it, and they see that you're basically not wearing a police uniform, and then they let you in. And then you show your ID that you're a member of the club, or purchase a membership, usually around €50, $50 for an annual membership. Makes me wonder if any of my memberships are valid from last year or expiring next week. Actually, I have to go grab my card. So you got a physical card, like a little driver's license, no picture or anything, but a little physical card to get in and out of the shop. And you remember some of these shops had like little storage areas so that when you leave the cannabis club, you don't have it on your possession and risk being in trouble if the police know which ones the doors are, right? Like we know that. So, but it has happened where people have walked out of the club and the police are like, all right, empty your pockets. What do you got? So, there's something to be said for leaving it in the lounge. Although we didn't though, did we? We just rolled.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And
Allegedly.
we allegedly had a great time at Sagrada de Familia as well, didn't we?
No, that didn't happen. We never we got inside but didn't get any part of the good time. We just got the smoke outside of it and look up at it experience. But nonetheless, Barcelona, a wonderful experience. I wanted to share the screen again with you, Ian. I've got the Spannabis website. You can walk us through that as well, if that's cool.
Yeah, Spannabis.
All right, you guys. Spannabis in Barcelona website. Here we go.
It's easily the biggest festival in Europe.
All right, so 3 days of trade show, exhibitors, professionals, visitors from all over the country. Fiera de Cornella.
Same spot as last year. And
same spot. Tickets, 25 euros a day, 55 euros for the 3 day. Prices have gotten more affordable. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very cheap. $50 for a 3 day festival. Can't beat that.
And then the brands that are there, it does look to be a little bit light, to be honest. But looks like
I'm certain they're going to have much more booths than that. You remember last year they had, I don't know, 100 or plus, right?
I don't know. It seems like they should have. Definitely seems like they should have a bunch of them there for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be on par with what we saw last year. Hundreds of booths. This will be a big festival. It's really the biggest.
I definitely remember there being a bunch of brands when I was there with you. There was a ton of booths, so many different seed companies and breeders. There was obviously a large variety of cultivation resources and tools and services, manufacturing companies as well. So very, very interesting. Just the classic manufacturing and ag stuff that you see. And this time there was I remember a lot of seeds there for sure.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for specifically when it comes to going to the Spannabis show?
Specifically for Spannabis, really probably just running into friends there. Spannabis is a 50-50 festival with booths and whatnot. There's no education per se, speakers or that sort of thing. I think there's some small bit of that, but it's not a big focus. This is really a festival. It's music, it's food, it's cannabis, it's everything. Right?
Did you eat more of those skewers last year?
Which skewers?
The chicken skewers in the middle where the food is.
I don't recall.
Tripping. We ate that remember those sandwiches there.
The lines are just so big to get food or a bottle of water that you start looking at which line is the shortest and you're going to get that food, not because it's particularly what you want. You're just like, okay, I can probably get through that line. And
Spannabis had more food options in there, man. I do remember that. Ian, I do remember that from 2 years ago. That was still the case last year.
Yeah. I think so. You end up queuing up for some food, but you're queued up and hopefully the weather's good. Was it raining when we were there or was it dry? One of the last couple of years, it was just pissing down rain, which is not great for the.
It was raining when we were there.
Okay, so that was 2 years ago. So last year it was fine. I don't know what the weather's shaping up for next week. But yeah, some really a lot of music on the stages while you're queuing up for your food, and then inside of the buildings, multiple buildings for all your booths and vendors. And you're right, there's a ton of seeds. And I think that we see in markets that are not as advanced as someplace like California or some of the really legal markets that we have in the US, you see just really different product types in countries where it's not legal because, there's There's only so many things that people are interested in a country where it's not legal, you know. So seeds is huge. Lots and lots of seed companies, because that's how you do it in countries where it's not legal. Get your seeds planted at home, right?
Yeah.
So the they're a great place for that, and a lot of the seed companies are going to be well represented there. What else about Spannabis? Spannabis is fun. It's a bit of a, I would say the business end of the conferencing is absolutely at ICBC, and Spannabis is the 3 days afterwards. It's just, hang out, party with your friends, all the people
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
ICBC, and reinforce some additional networking. And I won't be there for all 3 days.
Yeah, no, absolutely. From what I remember too, it's like, there's definitely value to be there and to try to network and make some stuff happen with the ancillaries that are there. If you're, if that's a target for you, right? You're trying to sell stuff to a quantity of brands, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of seeds there, so that's a thing. But a lot of energy of Spannabis goes into the surrounding events. There's this nightlife culture. There's this food culture. Can you walk me through, going to these lounges and the events and where you're going to kind of be at, where you anticipate being?
Yeah, so throughout the week there will be multiple night parties. Some of them at the lounges and some of them at other locations. So every night of the week there's going to be multiple events on. It's almost a little bit like what MJ BizCon has become, where there's just after parties, throughout the event. So we're going to see a lot of that next week in Barcelona. Um, I would say that for those attending the conferencing, it's a conference during the day. Find out where the meetup is at night. Usually, great dinners. Obviously, so much great food over there in Barcelona. And then it's rolling out for the cannabis clubs with your friends, to meet up for this event or that event, or this gathering or that gathering at the clubs. So that's where the evenings will be, mostly in the cannabis clubs.
I remember BCN and HQ and Strain Hunters,
Choco.
that one. And we also went to Terp's Army.
Yeah.
Crazy, crazy,
Yeah. We went to a few.
crazy.
Yeah, we
That
went to
was and cookies. And
cookies.
then yep, and then we went to the cookies glass shop and clothing store too. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was down where we were staying in the Gothic district.
Yeah, I was able to walk by that basically every day. Man, that was so exciting. Do you have a favorite food, or do you have any foods that you recommend
Paella.
people try when you're out there?
Paella. Let's go right there. It's
Easy.
classic Spanish
I
food.
think you got paella everywhere you went.
Maybe.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Tips for traveling, Ian, when it's going out there. You were talking a little bit earlier. This is where I came up with this idea. You were talking a little bit earlier about us getting caught at the Sagrada de Familia, and I think it's important that people know how to travel when they're cannabis industry folks. We want to take care of our homies. We want to take care of the fam and share good guidance. And so, as the executive director of Los Angeles Normal, what are your official tips for traveling safely, making it to Barcelona, and having a great time?
Don't bring it with you.
Don't do it. It's a lot to lose.
You got a lot to lose. It's not worth it. You can get it when you get there. This is really my philosophy on weed anywhere. I've been to like 100 countries. I have gotten weed in many of them. I've been pretty sketched about the situation in many of those countries. And my general rule of thumb is don't ever travel with it. Check out the scene when you get there, get it locally. And then be careful if you're getting it locally, if you're not doing it in some place like Barcelona where where things are pretty laid out on how you do it. Go to a club, get a membership, buy it, smoke it in there, leave. Those are the ways to keep yourself safe. So traveling with it, I don't do it. Listen, I know plenty of people that do, and I'm just like, blown away that they do it. And, you know, and then they show up at the conferences and they have it, and they're coming in from all kinds of different countries. And people are, I'm like, wow, where'd you get that? Oh, I brought it with me. I'm like, my goodness, you know. So, but not me. I'll be getting it when I get there.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
with you
know,
on that one.
you know me, like, I mean, I love to give it away, right? Like, you can't run into me without getting free J's or whatnot. I'm always passing it out, but I will not be bringing it to Europe. I'll get it when I'm there, and I'll pass that out.
100%. No, I love it, man. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, don't travel with it. That's my tip for anywhere.
So, Germany, Spain, and then I saw Slovenia on there. And so that's where
Yeah,
you're going to be in May. Did I see?
no, Slovenia is I think in September.
September,
Uh,
September,
so
September.
yeah, it'll be a ways out. I was
Interesting.
there. I was in Slovenia last September, I think, or October maybe.
And then
Uh,
your official, you said a couple offline. You said a couple other events this next year, or not next year, this next month.
Over the next couple of months, I'm also excited about international the Cannabis Summit in Amsterdam in approximately April, first week of April. Dates all on my website. All these events are all listed out on my website, rassman.com. Click on the events tab, you'll see everything chronological order. But Cannabis Summit,
Fire.
I think Amsterdam is going to be fantastic. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I used to live in Amsterdam. I haven't been there in a long time. In the 90s when I lived there, that was, you know, that was the place for cannabis, right? Like this was the heyday of Amsterdam. I was so lucky to live there at
Let's
that
talk a
time.
little bit about that. What was that like?
That
Describe
was
it.
hella fun. I mean,
Describe it.
I was 25 years old when I moved to Amsterdam. I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
um, so Amsterdam in the 90s, well, you know, this was really the only place that you could really go reliably get any weed in Europe. So I was working in Europe. I finished a 1 year commitment in England. My boss was like, well, you know, are you going to stick around in Europe or are you ready to go back to California? I'm like, no, I'll stay. And he's like, are you happy in England? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, go wherever you want. I don't care where you live. And I said, Amsterdam. And he's like, yeah, go. I'm like, okay. So I moved to Amsterdam, and that was fantastic. I enjoyed that. I mean, I was not, to be clear, I was not working in the cannabis industry back then. I was doing software consulting and working for an American company. And then I branched out on my own to continue that software consulting and stayed living in Amsterdam with clients in all the neighboring countries in Europe. You know, a dozen countries in Europe I was working in. So I traveled a lot Monday through Friday, but I would come home on the weekends to hang out in Amsterdam. I mean, like most every weekend was in Amsterdam, unless I was, you know, sightseeing in whatever country I was working in that week. But I loved it. I really like. I started learning how to speak Dutch. I was never great at it, but I could understand what was going on around me at least.
Really?
Yeah, I could understand Dutch. Today, I don't. I would struggle greatly, but I might pick up a couple things. This is 25 years ago, more I think even. And But I liked the culture. I got an education on cannabis actually when I lived there. As I mentioned, I was 25 years old. I'd already you know, experimented with cannabis. I was a little late starter. I was 18, 18 plus the first time I tried cannabis. So by the time I got to Amsterdam, you know, I knew what I was doing. And, you know, I started to learn a lot more about the culture of drugs, recreational soft drugs there in Amsterdam. I had one of the software companies that I was working for. The CEO was a retired Dutch police officer who used to work in the red light district. And he really gave me the education. A lot of it came from him on the Dutch attitudes towards cannabis and
Interesting.
criminalizing it and how that's just not what they were focused on. And there really was a culture there of medicine, cannabis as a medicine. I don't know that I recognized it for what it was at that time, because in my head at the time, it was recreational for me. I didn't understand the difference, and I didn't understand what I do now about cannabis being medicinal, no matter why you're taking it, whether it's for very specific medical reasons or just, you know, to, you know, relax yourself a little bit, which is medicinal in and of itself, right? So I learned a lot about the culture there in Amsterdam about cannabis and how most Dutch people viewed it. And it didn't have all the stereotypes and stigmas that we have on cannabis in this country still today. It's changing, getting a lot better, but we still have it here. And
Yeah.
Amsterdam was amazing. They've changed a lot now. It's really not the place. It's just not the cannabis destination that it used to be. I would say California or other states in the U.S. have surpassed that. I don't think people do. I don't know that people head for a cannabis destination per se anymore, like what they may have headed to Amsterdam in the 90s and their
Yeah.
times. Like today, you can like plan a different vacation. You can be like, oh, let's go be tourists in California or New York or all these other places where you can get the cannabis when you get there, but you don't have to go to that country because they have it. You can go to that place because you want to see New York City. You want to be a tourist in New York, and you can get your cannabis there.
Yeah.
I think that's more the travel attitude for consumers today than way back when you were like, let's go on vacation and where can we get some weed? All right, well, it's Amsterdam. Let's go. There just wasn't a lot of choices. So that's what you did.
That's an interesting way to look at it. Something I'd never thought about coming from Seattle, where weed is just so regularly available, and you're surrounded by Oregon to the south, which is 2.5 hours or 3 hours from Seattle, right? So it's so easy to get cheap weed already, and then to get cheaper weed 3 hours away. All right, so I wanted to go back to Barcelona and Spain real quick before we get out of here. We did an article on the Span After dinner, the B2B. The networking event that Jonathan is a part of. We're really excited to support this. I know you were mentioning that you were going to go check that out as well. Basically, the evening kicks off at about 8:30 at night, and you're going to have
Friday
a dinner
night, right?
experience, and there's going to be networking, and then there's an after party a few hours later. And so if you guys want to participate in that, go ahead and visit our website and just search or just Google Span After, SPANNAFTER Span After Diner, and that will give you a Google link or a search to just find our article real quick. I just did it to pull it up, and I know it works. But yeah, that should be able to help you guys get information about that and to pull up on that. It's big shout out to Jonathan and Sons of Dub and the entire group that's putting that on. Super cool to have met somebody from Switzerland that smokes weed and loves reggae and music and DJs. What a great homie to meet. So
I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week there.
Ian, do you have anything else that you need absolutely to share with the people before to round out the episode?
Stay medicated.
Hey, you guys heard it here first, man. If you didn't know already, stay medicated, drink water, stretch, go outside, breathe some fresh air,
And do some good in the world.
smoke a joint, and do some good in the world, you guys.
Do something good for others.
We love you guys. Thank you for watching and supporting. My name's Joey Bravo. This is my co-host, Ian Rassman. This was episode 2 of the Cannabis Business Podcast. Today we talked about Barcelona and Germany. Shout out ICBC and shout out Spannabis. Everybody going. You guys have a great time next week. We'll be at Hall of Flowers. For those of you going to Hall of Flowers, tap in if you want to come to our event or visit us at booth A123. Ian, love you, bro. Appreciate you guys. We out. We'll see you guys next